images we shoot with our camera are an essential part of how we tell a story. Now, shooting video is one thing, but taking the time to understand how to create depth and dimension in the video we shoot is key to excelling as a photojournalist. We're going to take a look at depth of field, what it is, and what affects it, and how you can manipulate it in the video that you shoot. The area in a scene in which everything appears in focus is called the depth of field. A skilled photojournalist will use the depth of field to isolate subjects, draw attention to a particular part of the scene, or create an opportunity to rack focus in order to reveal a new detail in their story. Now, there are many things that affect depth of field, and we're going to take a look at a few of the big ones. Things like focal length of the lens, the distance between the camera and the subject, and the f-stop or iris setting. And there are also ways to affect your iris by using neutral density or adjusting the shutter speed. The focal length refers to the distance between the optical center of a lens and the imaging device on the camera. Now, this 35mm camera has a lens that's bracketed between 18mm and 135. This video camera also has a variable focal length, and this one starts at 6mm and goes to 72mm. Now, this camera, or lens, has a variable focal length that starts at 4.5 and goes all the way to 59mm. You know, 59mm doesn't sound that impressive, but this sure looks impressive. Here we have a shot using a short focal length. The result is a wide-angle shot and a long field of view, so everything in the shot appears to be in focus.
This shot is composed with a longer focal length. We've zoomed in, giving us a close-up. If you notice, our background is slightly out of focus. It's more compressed. This helps our subject stand out. This is what we call a short depth of field. Now, here's the ground rules. I just refer to my depth of field as short. For the sake of this video, we'll keep it constant. Short depth of field, long depth of field. However, you will hear other people refer to it as narrow depth of field, shallow or wide. But here, it'll be short depth of field and long depth of field.
Now, focal lengths do not equal shot sizes, meaning short and long don't mean wide and close-up. It's important to keep these two concepts separate. I can shoot a close-up with a short depth of field or with a long depth of field simply by moving the camera. The closer the camera is to the subject, the shallower the depth of field, and the farther away the camera is from the subject, the longer the depth of field. The aperture, otherwise known as the f-stop, is what controls the amount of light allowed through the lens. Lower f-stop numbers correspond to a relatively large aperture opening, which allows more light in. Large f-stop numbers mean the aperture is small, which reduces the amount of light coming through the lens and gives you a longer depth of field. If you're looking to create a more selective focus, resulting in a shorter depth of field, we need to open up the aperture more. Now, we just can't open up the aperture because our shot will be overexposed. But if we use the tools on the camera like neutral density and the shutter speed, we can make sure that we have a shot that has a shortened depth of field and the correct exposure. If we were in a studio or anywhere inside, we could use this. This is a sheet of neutral density gel. It's an N6. If you look up here, we've already placed a sheet of N6 on the light, which effectively cuts down the intensity of the light by 2 f-stops. Hey, what if I tried this? Our camera has this ability built in. See this filter? That's a neutral density filter. Now, the more neutral density we add, the more the iris has to open and the shorter our depth of field is. So I'm going to change this filter from 1 to 2. I'm going to roll in 1/4 neutral density, and our iris drops from f16 to f11.
This makes a difference in our shot as well. Now, let's compare these ND filters. Currently, we're set at 1/4. Let's take a look at 1/16. Notice how the depth of field shortens. Now, what about 1/64? That really shortens the depth of field because the iris has had to open up all the way. And with a short depth of field, it allows me to stand out. From the background, that is.
So that's how neutral density can affect our iris, which determines what's in focus
and what's not in focus. Now let's take a look at shutter speed and discuss how shutter speed can affect our depth of field.
Most of today's cameras are equipped with electronic shutters right here. Now when this is turned on, it affects the amount of time that light hits the sensor when you're shooting. Now this is typically used when we're trying to capture detail that we wouldn't normally see, or for good slow-mo shots. If you've ever seen shots of rotor blades and you can actually see the blades, that's because they're using the electronic shutter. Well, today we're going to take some shots of the water flowing over the rocks back here in the river, and we're going to adjust the shutter speed, and you'll notice a couple of things. One, the higher we go with the shutter speed, the better detail you'll see and the less depth of field we have. As you increase the shutter speed, you reduce the amount of time the shutter is open, which reduces the amount of time the CCDs are charged by the image. This helps reduce blur and provides a crisp image, but it also reduces the amount of light. So as you increase the shutter speed, you generally have to open the iris to allow more light in, and this will contribute to a short depth of field. It's a combination of all these things: focal length, camera to subject distance, shutter speed, iris, neutral density, in varying degrees that allow us to manipulate what's in focus and where the viewer's attention will be drawn. We can't possibly show you all the combinations of focal length, shutter speed, neutral density, and aperture settings, but these should give you an idea of how to use the tools on the camera to gain a better understanding of how to use depth of field as you tell your stories.